Okay, so if you have been following along, then you know this is the fourth video of the highly anticipated PV video series. So today we are going to be talking about Rancho Palos Verdes, aka RPV, what makes up the city, what amenities does it have, what are the home prices like, what are the schools like, etc. So if you don't already know, I am Carissa Wright, broker associate at Beach City Brokers. And if you haven't already, please hit subscribe. New videos each week talking about PV, the South Bay, and everything fun and exciting that happens here. So let's go ahead and let's dive on in. Let's start first with where is RPV in terms of PV, the boundaries. So if you're looking at the map here, you can see that RPV borders Palos Verdes Estates on the north side. It borders with Rolling Hills and Rolling Hills Estates kind of along its east, and San Pedro on the south, and then obviously the Pacific Ocean on the west. And as you can see, it has a little bit of an irregular border. So when I really start to dive into the neighborhoods, I'm going to kind of divide it up into three parts to make it a little easier to comprehend accessibility and everything. But let's start with an overview of the city. So RPV is the youngest city on the peninsula. It was incorporated in 1973, and it is composed of about 12.3 square miles of land and 7.5 miles of coastline, interestingly enough. Population is about 41,000, so it is the biggest population-wise on the peninsula. And another really important thing to know is that, like most PV cities, there isn't a lot of beach access here. So if you want like a soft sandy beach, you are going to need to make a trip down the hill into the beach cities most likely. There is an exception. There are quite a few tide pools scattered throughout RPV. And then there also is a private beach located at Portuguse Beach Club, which is a private gated community, but we will talk about that shortly too. All right, and now let's talk a little bit about the crime rate. So when you look at neighborhoodscout.com, it is considered to be safer than 61% of US cities. And when looking at California as a whole compared to RPV, the crime rate is dramatically lower in RPV compared to the rest of the state. So I would say overall RPV specifically is extremely safe, and you can see most of the crimes committed are property crimes. And there's obviously ways to deter against that. So landmarks and amenities. Landmarks, there's the Point Vicente Lighthouse, really famous, 67 feet tall, and it was built in 1926. And there is also Wayfarer's Chapel, which was built by Lloyd Wright, Frank Lloyd Wright's son. Tons of weddings and events happen here. Really beautiful glass ceiling chapel. And hiking, we have tons of hiking in RPV, which is great. There is the Portuguese Bend and PV Nature Preserve, which has miles of trails. You can also ride bikes through here. There is a world famous resort. We have Terranea Resort. Well, I think it's world famous. It is a luxury resort sitting on 102 acres with 582 guest rooms. And everybody in PV in the South Bay loves Terranea. They always host great activities like Mother's Day brunch, Easter brunch. There's also a summer music series on the weekend at one of their restaurants, Nelson's, which has phenomenal views, live music, lots of fun. So even if you aren't staying at Terranea, people love to head there, me especially. And if you are a golfer, we've got three great options in RPV. So Trump National Golf Club is located not too far away, and it is an 18-hole, really hard course, but great, beautiful views. There's a Los Verdes golf course, also 18 holes, and then Terranea has a par 3 9-hole golf course, much more my speed. Okay, now let's dive into a little bit of the neighborhood. So when we take a look at the map, we are going to divide this into three areas to make it a little simpler. So let's start out on the northeastern side. The neighborhoods in this area are known as Miraleste, Mira, Catalina, and there's also the Eastview neighborhood. So starting with Miraleste, Mira, Catalina areas, These are primarily single family custom built homes, so really no tract homes. The lots do tend to be larger. The homes tend to be larger as well, and you oftentimes have really great views. I'd say you have harbor views, so towards the south, towards Long Beach and Orange County. Sometimes you can have downtown LA basin views, and then oftentimes there's also some Catalina views. So again, you're perched up on the hillside, which provides a lot of space and views. Some of the downsides of being in this area is the streets can be a little bit darker and maybe windy. You're also a little bit further from the South Bay Beach City areas. However, you do have quick access to the freeways. And some of the neighborhoods can have peacocks sometimes as well. So I've talked about that in the PVE video. You either love it or you hate it. Now, accessibility, if you need to go to the grocery store or do some shopping, your quickest option is to head over to San Pedro. You're really close to San Pedro. Access to the 110 freeway, like I said, is pretty close. So about 2 to 5 miles, depending on where you're living at, which can be about 5 to 15 minutes. So if you have a commute up to like downtown LA, Miraleste, this kind of like more backside, I often refer to it as, it's kind of slang, east side of the hill does have quick access to the 110, which is fantastic for some people. Riviera Village access, Beach City access, you're a little bit further. So I'd say you're about 10 to 12 miles, about 20 to 30 minute drive time. So I always tell my clients, if you want quick access to the beach, being on this side of the hill is not going to be your best option. This is really far from the beach cities. However, you do get a lot more bang for your buck, I would say, on average. I'd say price per square foot, it's a little bit less on this side of the hill. So it just depends on what type of lifestyle you're looking for. Also, there isn't a lot of walkability. You can't walk to the market. There aren't a lot of places to walk to. So it's more of a driving community. So something to also take into consideration. Now, schools in this area, you're looking at elementary is going to be either Dapple Gray or Mira Catalina, and middle school is going to be Miraleste, and high school, again, as with all PV schools, you get your choice. So PV High or Peninsula High. Now, Eastview is a unique community here. It is an annexed part of Rancho Palos Verdes, and it's a little bit more mixed. So there are some condos, townhouses, as well as single family homes. And the school option is really unusual in this neighborhood because it is technically LA. You can either attend PV schools or LAUSD schools. Okay, now moving on to this other area here along PV Drive South, more of the southern part of Rancho Palos Verdes. So there are quite a few neighborhoods in this area, and I'm going to break down a few of them just to give an idea of what this pocket looks like. So right to begin with, we have a neighborhood known as Ladera Linda, a cute neighborhood, single family tract homes, great views. So many of the homes have fantastic Catalina views, and the homes are older, maybe more like in the 60s, but great views, quiet, cute little neighborhood. Across the way, we have Ocean Terrace, which is 101 upscale condos and fabulous views, again, of Catalina, as well as looking over Trump Golf Course. If we move up the coast a little bit more, we have Portuguse Bend Beach Club, which I spoke about earlier. This is a private gated community. It does have a soft sandy beach, but again, it is a private community. Stunning whitewater views from these homes. So they're primarily single family little beach bungalows, and a lot of the houses are literally just staring at the whitewater. So if you're looking for, smaller house with fantastic views, this is going to be your little pocket. And then if we go across PV Drive South, more to the east side, we have another Portuguse Bend neighborhood, which is different from the Portuguse Bend Beach Club. So this is Portuguse Bend. It is also a gated community, but this has all single family homes as well, Catalina views. However, it is in an active landslide zone, which makes it obviously very unique. The city of Rancho Palos Verdes is working with a team to try to remedy this naturally occurring landslide, so people can still live and buy houses. There are some ways to kind of mediate against the landslide. Some areas of the landslide are more active than others. So depending on where your home is located, sometimes you're not disturbed, sometimes you're greatly disturbed, just depends. But there are some ways to work with it. And like I said, the city has built a team solely around trying to find a way to slow this landslide down. Now we go back across PV Drive South, more to the west or south side there, and we've got Terranea, like I talked about previously. Now Terranea does have some residences as well that are used for timeshares, so you are able to purchase condos and townhouses here. We move up along the coast, there's another gated community known as Oceanfront Estates, and this is a community with about 77 residences, and these are large homes with stunning Catalina views. I'd say on average, the houses here are about 6,000 square foot, so big homes. The price point here is also going to be really high. I think you're looking at between, on average, I'd say 6 million here. Now, accessibility from this whole little pocket of PV Drive South is pretty good depending on where you're headed. So there is one shopping center that's really central, located at Hawthorne and PV Drive South. And here you have a gas station, you have a grocery store, Trader Joe's. There's a little fish market, there's some restaurants. So great little central shopping center. Oh, the Starbucks too, if you need Starbucks. And then freeway access. You're kind of in the middle here. So you can access the 405 and the 110 pretty similarly. So you're about, I'd say, 5 to 10 miles from the 110, maybe about 10 to 15 from the 405. So you're looking at about 10 to 20 minutes to get to the 110, maybe 20 to 40 to get to the 405. So if you're working on the west side, Santa Monica, still might be a little far of a commute for you. If you're up for the commute, go for it. But for the most part, it's a little bit further. And Riviera Village access, Beach City access, you're about 5 to 10 miles from the Riviera Village. So about 15 to 30 minutes. So again, a little bit of a drive, but a little more doable compared to more of the Miraleste backside of the hill. Schools in this area, your elementary, you're going to be assigned either to Mira Catalina or Point Vicente. Middle school could be either Miraleste or Ridgecrest. And as always with PV, you get your choice for high school. So PV High or Peninsula High. And depending on where you're located, you're probably located closer to PV High in this pocket. Now let's move into the last little section of RPV along the northern side, and you can kind of see we move up along Hawthorne Boulevard here. Now, there are so many little pockets of neighborhoods in this area that it would take way too long to even get into on this video. So if you have specific questions, please feel free to contact me about this part because it does get a little tricky through here. But just to generalize, there are many pockets of single family homes, there's townhouses, there's condos, and like I said, lots of types of neighborhoods. So you have some tract homes, you have some custom built homes, you have some gated townhouse communities. So a big mixture throughout here. You also, depending on where you're living, could have great views of Catalina. Some of the houses have great views looking towards Malibu, and then maybe even like downtown LA basin views. Accessibility from this part, it does tend to be a little bit closer to the beach cities and to the freeways. You have, let's see, it's about 10 to 15 miles to get to both the 405 and the 110. So pretty equidistant depending on location, about 20 to 30 minutes to get to the freeways. Riviera Village, you're looking at about 5 to 10 miles, so 10 to 20 minutes depending on location. And there are some shopping centers here, so you're really close to Peninsula Center, which is Rolling Hills Estates, but depending on where you're living, you're like right there. So that's a great option for grocery, drugstores, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's also a large Ralph's on the corner of Hawthorne and Crest, which is great to get your groceries. And lastly, for this little pocket, schools. So elementary, you are either going to be assigned to Vista Grande, Silver Spur, or Soleado. Middle school, you'll most likely be assigned to Palos Verdes Intermediate, PVIS, which is in Palos Verdes Estates, or Ridgecrest. I had a typo in my notes, to Ridgecrest. And then high school, you are, again, at your choice, either PV High or Peninsula. And depending on where you're located, you could actually be pretty equidistant to both of those high schools as well. Okay, last thing, because clearly I'm getting tired. This is a very long, detailed video. Rancho Palos Verdes is huge. Okay, let's talk home prices. So In the last 6 months, there have been 257 closed sales. So when we're watching the Rolling Hills video, which I think had like 13 closed sales in the past 6 months, you can see that this is a much larger city. So 257 closed sales in the last 6 months. Whoa! Lowest sale was $550,000 for a 1-bed, 1-bath condo, about 700 square feet. The highest sale was $8,765,000 for a 6-bed, 9-bath single-family home, 8,000 square foot. So big house, clearly. The average sale was $1,885,000 for a 4-bed, 3-bath, about 2,300 square foot. So again, if you're looking at square foot average, you're getting a lot more bang for your buck here, which brings us to the average price per square foot. Average price per square foot was $822. So Rancho Palos Verdes, I would say, much more bang for your buck compared to the other PV cities. There has a lot of offerings. So if you're looking for a condo, for a townhouse, for a single family, for a custom built home, there's options here, which is what I love about RPV. There's a lot of schools. You have incredible views from many areas. I'd say the downside, well, maybe to some, less walkability in parts of RPV. It's mostly a driving city, but that's pretty consistent with all of PV. No soft sand beaches except for at PVC, which you have to live there or have an HOA membership. But some of these areas do have close access to the Riviera Village, to Redondo Beach, Torrance Beach. So there are other options. And this concludes our RPV video. So I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Please tell me your favorite parts of RPV or any questions you may have as well. I love reading the questions and comments. Appreciate the feedback always. Again, I'm Carissa Wright. If you ever have any PV or South Bay questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Contact info is in the description. And thank you for checking out my video.